and welcome to AIL TV, and you are watching a man called Jay. As I always say, here at Africans in London TV, we strive to bring you news and entertainment. I'm talking about quality news and entertainment. So, in this video, I have got two distinguished guests from Uganda. Yes. You see, Ugandans, I'm always saying that Ugandans are the most creative people in the world. I don't care what everybody says. It's only that they are limited by resources and they're limited by other things, either political, whatever. But this is not a political program. I have got two gentlemen from Uganda and they lead different organizations. One is a counselor from Uganda. He will tell you his names because I would rather let him introduce himself properly. And another one is the chairman of the Bamasaba people here in the UK. So without wasting so much time, here is our guests. So gentlemen, I have made the introduction very, very, very brief. And I would like you to introduce yourselves because I know sometimes we get things wrong. But on this video, I want to be accurate and I want us to be clear. I want us to tell the people where we are from and why we are doing this program here. Now, let me start with the gentleman in the tie. So, go ahead.
Thank you for the brief introduction, Joseph. My name is Mike, Councillor Mike Kasibo, based in the Milton Keynes. Proudly to be a Labour member here in the Milton Keynes, but I also represent Ugandan communities in Milton Keynes. I'm a social worker by profession. But I'm very actively working with the colleagues here and the Ugandan embassy, working to bring Ugandans together, Ugandans in the diaspora, that is UK and Ireland together.
Fantastic. And how about the other gentleman? I believe this is the gentleman, the chairman of the Bamasaba. So please introduce yourself and expand more.
Joseph, thank you very much for the brief introduction. Yeah, my name is Michael Materesi. I am the chairperson of the Bamasaba in the UK and also a representative of our cultural leader, His Highness Jude Mudoma. I'm his representative for UK and Europe at large. I live in Croydon, London. I'm a civil servant. I'm not political in any way.
Fantastic. What I have found is that Ugandans in the diaspora are not connecting together. So please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Now, what I have found over the years, Ugandans are doing very well in every field. You'll find lawyers, you'll find counselors, you'll find civil servants like you, Materesi. But also, what we tend to concentrate more on the cultural groupings. You'll find that there is the Banyoro, Batoro, Banyakigezi, Banyankole. Why is it that we cannot get together and do things as Ugandans? Anyone can answer this question.
Yeah, can I go first? I think it is very important to analyze the historical context of our being here in UK or being in diaspora. There are certain historical events that have taken place in our country. That's why we find ourselves living in diaspora. But crucially, it is important to state that in trying to form this organization here, politics is out. It will be a non-political organization with the whole aim of bringing Ugandan diaspora together to connect, network, and build partnerships. You, in the introduction, you said that there are many Ugandans here from many tribes in Uganda, but we live in isolation. It is hence this forming this group here for us as an interim people to have to create it as an umbrella for all the tribes, for all the communities that have found themselves in the UK for one reason or another. They add also Ireland as such. So it is because of that isolation that we need to come together to harness or leverage our skills and knowledge we have gained in the UK to see how we can help ourselves both here and also our motherland.
So, Councillor Mike, let us talk about the organization Materesi is talking about. I think at the caption here, I can see UDF, that is the Ugandan Diaspora, trying to bring the Ugandans together. So, what is UDF?
First of all, I just want to acknowledge and agree with my colleague, Michael, that the interim committee, one of the key aim is actually, first of all, was as a result of acknowledging that for so long, Ugandans have lived in isolation of each other, despite of the talents, the skills, the experience, different experiences and expertise that we've got. And this living in isolation of each other is not helping us. And so what we are trying to do is, first of all, acknowledging that it's okay to have the I as in an individual tribe, an individual family, but it's also very important to have the us. The us is the believing that we are stronger together. When we come together, we'll be stronger. We've seen the challenges that we went through during COVID. How many of our colleagues, some passed on, some were badly affected by this COVID, but the isolation, the impact of that isolation, not being connected with another Ugandan, live around the tribal aspect of it, because like Mike said, some of these things bringing in tribal is political, from home is historical, colonial. But when we come here, we are one person, we are Ugandans. And so it's really important. And we're basing on that to say it's the high time that we came together as Ugandans, that we came together to show the young generation coming up, being able to learn about our heritage. They're only able to do that only when we come together, is when we'll be able to show them that as Ugandans, this is how we dance. This is our food that we eat. This is how we do our things as Ugandans. And so it's really important to stress that. And that's our basis. So going back to the question of UDF. So UDF is Uganda Diaspora Foundation. It's an organization that we have recently formed. And I'm the vice chairperson of the interim committee, and my colleague, Michael. And so the purpose of this UDF is the unification of Ugandans in the UK and in Ireland. When we talk about Ugandans, we're talking about Ugandans. We include the Asian Ugandans living in the diaspora, and those even living wherever they are living, to be part of this whole thing. So we are including. It's an inclusive. We look at the diversity, we're looking at the inclusion, we're looking at the equality. It's not just looking at a Ugandan based on the color, but Ugandans by birth, Ugandans by naturalization.
Okay, so we will come back to you later. Now, let me ask Michael Materesi. You, as a leader of a cultural group, how easy do you think it will be able to convince your people and say, well, look, UDF is for everybody. Can you come and join, but you can still stay with your cultural group?
I think the best way to answer that question is to itemize the list of hardships that we go in the diaspora. Things like cultural adjustment when you come to in a strange world. There's the issue of identity crisis. There's the issue of isolation with the family left at home, and you're here sometimes on your own, no relationship, and so forth. There are issues of discrimination and racism. This is real. There are issues. The discrimination and racism also touches on our mental well-being, and it's very important to address our mental health issues. Issues of um, legal and immigration difficulties. And crucially, one thing that my colleague Mike touched on is that the hardships we had when we had the pandemic, the COVID time when some colleagues passed on. There are some colleagues who needed our help. There are some colleagues who required this assistance only coming into contact with us when they're in hardship, when they're almost, when they've got colleagues who have passed away and they want to repatriate their bodies and so forth and so forth. But because they have been living in isolation, because they haven't been communicating with many of us, it was difficult to even know where their whereabouts and even how we could help. So it is important to come together so that we know each other, we know your area, we know where you live. In times of hardships like that, we can find the ways of connecting, find the ways of coming together and helping you. There are many hardships again that we go through. I mean, I've mentioned some of them. Uh, the issues of financial strains that people go through, issues of unemployment. Um, some of us have lived in this country for so long. We may know some tricks of getting of helping people to get some jobs, or even to alleviate some financial hardships. So, because of these things here, it is easy. If you list these things here, it is easy, in my view, to persuade colleagues to come together to network to find the ways of alleviating some of these hardships
Yeah.
which can be faced
Okay.
in us.
So the question now, let me put this question to Mike. Councillor Mike, you are very well aware that there are so many organizations which have been formed. Yeah. And those organizations regarding Uganda, but they do not take off. So what strategy do you have in place to get this work?
That's a very true statement. And we very well recognize that many of our colleagues that have been there before, they've tried to bring Ugandans together, and somehow, somewhere, things have failed. You know, when you read some of these religious books, they talk about those who tried to build a tower, and in the middle of it, people started speaking different languages. The relevance of that is that people start with, all the, you know, everyone is interested and everyone is, have got all those best interests to see that Ugandans come together. But actually, it's not an easy task. I'm a local councillor, and I work quite a lot in my community and with my social skills. Working as a social worker is part of actually the skills that we gain in engaging with local communities. And so we've got, just to add on what my colleague has already um, alluded to. So we talk about building relationships. One of the key that we've identified that people find themselves easy to connect with fellow tribal colleagues is actually the attachment, the relationship that is already built, and that brings trust. And so one of the key line that we're embarking on is engaging with local communities, building trust. And we do this through what we call power analysis mapping. So we're embarking on a program where we'll be identifying the key community and the tribal leaders. We want to engage with this directly. We want to build a relationship with them, build trust with these people, so that it's very easy for these people to bring their communities. When we say we have a Ugandan Day event, for example, these are people that are going to be our gatekeepers. We call them gatekeepers in a positive way. They'll be able to mobilize their community groups, their tribal groups, to bring them to the events. And from there, we'll start building these relationships with these people. So that's one of the avenue, the approach, and the model that we're embarking on, called power analysis mapping, and being able to identify who are the key gatekeepers for what tribe, for what community group. For example, when it comes to Meoncanes, I'm connected with Ugandans in Meoncanes. I'm Mgwere by tribe, but I've come off like identifying myself just as Mgwere. I'm identifying myself as a Ugandan here in the Meoncanes, and I bring all Ugandans here, those who are happy to come together, and we live together and we're able to support each other together. So it means that when it comes to organizing, it's very easy because I'm connected with these people. I've already built trust and relationship with these people. Those are the approaches that we're using.
Mm. Okay. So now the UDF. Uh, Obviously, you are just only two people here. I'm talking to. Uh, how many people are you there in the group driving this UDF?
So in the group, the interim committee, we are
Yeah.
about 12 of us. We are 12 people. We've got gender balanced, not fully balanced, but we've got ladies and gentlemen, and all of us together from different regions in Uganda. We've come together to bring this, to carry this program organization until when it's ready, and we'll be handing over to the Ugandans. That's when we'll be conducting a general election, so that we are able to, people, Ugandans in the diaspora, are able to elect the people that they trust to take over this foundation.
This event that has been organized to take place sometime this year. Can you talk about this event? Where is it going to be, and how is it organized?
Thank you. We are yet to find the location, but I think we are still preparing to looking for where the event may take place. So I cannot give you definitively the answer to as to the location of the event, because those are still under plans yet and not even not much advertisement and so forth. But in terms of the uh, raising awareness of the partnerships that you want to form for the groups as a bit, you're alluding to me as a business person. Of course, I've done a little bit of businesses, but of course, I can still uh, uh, put myself in the shoes of a business person. Collaboration and partnerships are key in promoting any business, because without people, your business is not viable. So, from the community perspective, when you talk about the forming, collaborating and partnerships, we create business networking avenue for facilitating connections and collaborations among the diaspora entrepreneurs. We've got professionals, we've got people who support business growth and economic growth and so forth. We've got accountants who might help write business plans. We've got uh, things like skills sharing activities that we can put on through workshops and so forth, creating platforms for individuals where within the diaspora community, they can share their skills, knowledge, and expertise with others to promote learning and personal development. So those are the avenues that I would advocate for projects to improve social, economic, and educational conditions of our community. So, and again, through the cultural exchanges or programs that we will be putting on from the groups. When, as you said in the beginning, we talk of uh, communities operating in isolation, Banyoro, Banyabasoga, Bagisu, Baganda, Banyankole, Banyakigezi, and so forth. But if we were to have cultural programs, exchanging programs together, organizing events, workshops, and activities together, there we can bring in some cultural understanding and appreciation of what the other communities can bring, how can it tap into the markets within those groups to promote
Yeah, yeah.
ourselves.
You know, talking about networking events, you see, many Africans actually they are not very good at networking because how do you have you put a strategy in place for networking? Let's say once a month, just to invite everybody. Just let us get to know each other. Say you are a counselor, you are a cultural leader, you are also a business person. I am here as a media person. We are there, but we do not know. So, for example, if I wanted to find a Ugandan lawyer, how do I find that lawyer? Or if I wanted to find an accountant, a Ugandan accountant, how do I find them? That's what I'm talking about. These micro networking events. Councillor Mike, what do you have those kind of plans in?
No, and I agree with what my colleague has just shared. But one of the key strategy, obviously, is first and foremost acknowledging that we are creating a platform in terms of business. We are creating a platform where people are going to come together and be able to display through the stalls that we're going to be putting in place. So the event itself we're organizing is going to be in October. We've, as Mike said, we're still looking for the venues, but we've got so far a few venues which we are going to be sharing in our next show that we're going to be when we're going to be talking. But we're looking at having stores over about 40 stores, and within these 40 stores, they're aimed at creating a platform for our communities. Those who are doing businesses, the lawyers, they'll be able to come in and share their cards, and we give them the opportunity to talk about what is it that you do, what is it that you want to share with the wider Ugandan community, so that they know that we've got lawyers, we've got accountants, we've got social workers, we've got police officers. We have all these people, but because again, we go back to what we said initially, that we work in isolation of each other. When time comes and you're looking for a lawyer, you're looking for an accountant, you can't find them. But where do you go? Who do you contact to get these people, to get this database? As interim committee, our job is to ensure that we collect all this database and we're able to put it together. And any Ugandan going forward, they're able to contact us and say, look, I'm looking for an accountant. Are you able to provide me with this information? Yes. we are able to proudly provide you information as long as this accountant is happy for us to, obviously we are aware of the data protection. So life is all about networking, and it's really important. I want to encourage all Ugandans for this time only to come together. We must come together as Ugandans. We must come together and enjoy life as Ugandans and share and talk about our lived experiences here as Ugandans and see how we can support each other as Ugandans.
Can I just add one thing? Because I
Oh, yes,
mean,
go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
because, Joy, because you said about I was an interim committee, and of course, these are some of the things we have put in our strategic intentions in the future. Maybe we come up with a document. Advocacy and awareness campaigns will have to be a cornerstone of what we do. We will be having things like mentorship programs, establishing uh, for experienced members of our diaspora community to support and guide youngsters, for example, in generating or personal professional development and so forth. So whatever we're doing now as an interim committee and as an interim committee is still is work in progress. So when we come up with the proper documents, all these things all these ideas will be there as to how uh, we intend to achieve our aims and objectives.
One question that I really didn't ask, I could have asked this question in the first, during the first minutes of the program. What is the demographic of Ugandans? Meaning that how many are there in the UK and Ireland in numbers? Is it 50,000, 70, or 100,000? Official numbers, because I know when we go to search on Google and stuff like that, they will give us the official numbers. But also, there are those people who are not identified by the government yet they're in the UK. So, what is the demographic of Ugandans here in the UK, Mike?
Um, I'm trying to remember the last time we had the conversations with the Ugandan embassy. It was in was it 90,000 Ugandans living in the UK and Ireland. The embassy here is very supportive. We go the person identified who is the head of the diaspora, and we're working very. She's very supportive, Miriam Otengo. We're working with her very closely, and so in terms of the demographic and or rather the population of Ugandans in the diaspora, the challenge that has been there is that many Ugandans, because of people's lived experiences, people find it so hard to identify themselves as Ugandans. There has been stories that you find a Ugandan on the bus, they start speaking Ugandan, and when they see that you're a fair Ugandan, they can even change, leave that bus and go to another. They don't want to be identified because of maybe their status here. You're going to report each other, or because of whatever reasons. So it's been very hard to get the actual number of Ugandans living in the diaspora. But these are one of the key reasons why we are coming up together, to be able to identify how many Ugandans do we have in the diaspora, to get the actual number. So at the moment, I wouldn't give you the actual figure. Maybe my colleague Michael has got a different information on that.
Michael, do you have
No,
an idea?
no, I have no idea. And in fact, as I introduced myself as the representative of our cultural leader in the UK and Europe, I'm struggling to get the numbers of Bama Sava who live in UK and Europe. Now, one thing that we have to overcome in UK especially is the GDPR regulations. You can't get people's data so easily without coming head to head. with the regulations. But recently, I saw in the Ugandan Monitor, I think the government is sponsoring uh, people to ascertain the numbers of people in the diaspora. So I don't know how they'll get that information, but it looks like the government is looking at getting the just on following on the census which happened recently in Uganda. I think they are trying to find out how many Ugandans are in the diaspora. So I saw an article by Ambassador Lusimbi. I think he's now in America, Texas. I don't know how they're collecting the information, but hopefully, if they conclude that process, I think we will be able to know how many Ugandans are located where in the world.
Yeah. So now, you see, as Mike touched on this idea that many Ugandans do not want to be identified because they think they would be reported, they think they will be. This mistrust, it is really embedded in Ugandans. So I'm trying to figure out how you're going to overcome this. How do you persuade people that, well, look, because you know what is going to happen is this. Once you come up with an idea like this, and then you mention that the embassy is trying to support you, all of a sudden there will be people who will be thinking this is a Ugandan thing, this is the government thing of Uganda trying to penetrate us. So you see, that goes back to the question I asked earlier. What strategy do you put into place? Let us get all the cultural leaders in one place. Let us just record a program, and so that they can go out there to their people and tell them, look, we are really operating independently, even when the government is trying to help us, but we have taken it on ourselves. Is that one thing that you think is possible? Anyone can answer.
I think that is a very, very bright idea. The problem is we do not know we don't know ourselves as the chair people of each tribes. We don't know ourselves. Of recent, of course, I've been getting invitations to other tribes organizing their cultural events. Like recently, I was in Batoro. Now I've been invited to Banyakigezi. Then, of course, I had one invitation from Baganda and so forth. So if we invite ourselves like that, that's how we shall know. But it's difficult to know the leaders of these groups. And again, I don't know whether we have the database of the leaders of tribes in Ugandan tribes in UK. And I think I'll actively look for ways of getting that information. And I think that's a very good idea of having a meeting of all the leaders of the tribal leaders in
Yeah,
of Ugandan groups in UK. That's a
yeah.
fantastic
And
idea.
and and, and I remember one time you guys, you came at the embassy to see Ambassador Muhindo. Is it Muhindo from the
Yes,
from the foreign affairs?
yes, Ambassador Muhindo.
Yeah.
I had organized a Bamasaba 10th anniversary event here in Croydon,
Mm.
and I'd invited, of course, some prominent people from Bamasaba to come and speak. And at one time, I was also in New York. I think on one of those occasions, then I met some of the ministers who talked at those on those community cultural events in New York. So I did invite them to this occasion, and Ambassador Mahindo was one of them. So I did
Hmm.
invite him to this Siba Masaba occasion, and he missed getting the visa. He got the visa very late. So he changed to instead of coming after he came after the event, but instead decided to have it at the embassy. That's why he decided to call people at the embassy to talk about his remit as the head of the diaspora desk at the Foreign Office. So I think the cancellation was a blessing in disguise to come to the, because I think it was
Okay.
quite a successful event.
So we
Can
basically
I
we are
just
going
first of
we
all go back to the point of that you raised, JJ, because that's a very important point. And I just want to remind you of one of the approaches that I talked about, what we call power analysis mapping. It's going to be a journey for us, but when you use that power analysis mapping, it's all about identifying, if you're looking for a community to connect with the community, who are the key people that you need to connect with first? And these are the people. They may be cultural leaders, they may be just business people, but people believe in them so much. There may be some sort of gatekeepers that when you speak to this person, is very much connected with that community group, is very much connected with that tribal group. And these are the key people that we're going to start to embark on identifying, people who are living in Bristol, in Birmingham, in Manchester, who are the key leaders within those community groups. And this is and we have this database, obviously, working collaboratively with the embassy. This is not political, but the embassy is going to support us in providing some of this information. When you contact someone, so he may be able to provide you with the details of, or connect you with the community group in Birmingham, for example. One of our key aims and objectives there, and the guidelines that we've been very clear with, is that the UDF, UK and Ireland, is a non-political organization. This is purely formed by the community and for the community. It's not political. So all Ugandans out there must understand that there's nothing political in this. However, we are not working in isolation of the embassy in the UK, the embassy in London. You know, it's only wise that, when we are trying to form this Ugandan UDF, the embassy has been there for a long time. They've got a database of most of the key people that we may need to connect with to be able to bring Ugandans together. So we can't work in isolation of the embassy, and that's really important that we work collaboratively to be able to be successfully engage with the wider Ugandan communities.
Okay, so that's very good. We are going to wrap up because you see, since this has been a very good introductory program, we need to find a way of sustaining it. Now, so one plan is to have a bigger meeting, physical, one place. Probably the Ugandan embassy will give us the space. Get all the cultural leaders. Let us now have a strategy of how we are going to reach a lot of people. Now, for one last statement, I'm going to start with you. Let me start with Materesi, then I will finish with Mike. If you were to appeal to Ugandans, what would you say to them? Last statement.
Fellow Ugandans, we live far from home. We face hardships in the diaspora. We cannot resolve these hardships in isolation. Let's come together and see how we can network, uh, find ways of overcoming the hardships together as a group. Hardships like healthcare issues that I mentioned earlier, homesickness, some cultural conflicts, discrimination and racism. As I mentioned, that's quite real. Unemployment, home shortage. These things are very important. We have to come together, educate ourselves about ways of and benefits of coming together to resolve things like these or hardships as a group or as a community.
My appeal to Ugandans, first and foremost, I would say that life is all about networking. Let's come together and get to know each other and connect. I believe and I agree with most Ugandans who believe that it's important to know your tribal group. We're aware of that, and we agree that it's important to have the I, but it's very important to have the us. The us, that means coming together as Ugandans, because we are stronger together. Many young people of Ugandan heritage have joined what we call criminal exploitation and count lines. And this is because we got so many single parents who are struggling alone. And the increase, when you look at the statistics now, actually alarming. The only way that we're going to be able to support these young people, boys and girls, is by connecting with them, with uncles, with aunties. As per our culture, when you look at our heritage, we go uncles. We're brought up with uncles, aunties. If my mother is not there, I'm able to speak to my aunt. If my dad is not there, I'm able to speak to my uncle, who is able to guide me, to share those words of wisdom. This is a great opportunity for us all as Ugandans. It's a great opportunity for parents. It's a great opportunity for young people. Let's come together as Ugandans. And through the platforms that we are creating, we have the Ugandan Diaspora Day, which is coming up in October. We have the networking event, which we are creating to meet with the Ugandan community group leaders who are going to be sharing the information and representing the different geographical regions that we have in the UK and Ireland. I look forward to networking with all Ugandans in the diaspora. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. So now we have it. So we have to be consistent. Plan number one, get all the cultural leaders, and we have to get them quick. So you guys, you're gonna get busy sending out emails and making them ready. And I'm sure Madame Miriam Otengo, she will facilitate. They will give us the space down there at the Ugandan embassy. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time in the near future. When I say in the near future, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 3 weeks, but thank you very much for getting this whole idea started.
Thank you for having us.
I will see you then. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching and listening to Councillor Mike Kasibo. He's a councillor in Milton Keynes, and also you've been watching and listening to Michael Materesi, the chairperson of the Bamasaba people in the diaspora. When we not only in the UK, you have heard him say he's been to New York, he goes out all the way to Europe, doing whatever he does. So with the UDF, I believe we can do it. You can still remain in your cultural group settings, but remember, you are a Ugandan. You carry Ugandan passport. Everything, when Uganda is affected, it does not only affect one tribe. So you've been watching AIL TV, and I'm a man called Jay. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye.